What are Creative Commons and how do they apply to entrepreneurship? Are these things we're allowed to use? Are these things we need to be aware of? Let's talk to everybody's favorite IP and entertainment lawyer, Tony, to find out more.
My name is Tony Iliakakis. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
Tony, talk to me about Creative Commons. There's a lot of conversation going on inside of Facebook groups and different communities right now. What do we need to know as entrepreneurs and using and leveraging Creative Commons?
Yeah, so we've seen it time and time again. Odds are, if you go on even YouTube, you can see that there is kind of like hyperlinked language to Creative Commons licenses and what permissions the owner is being granted. So the whole essence of the Creative Commons license is that whoever wants to use someone else's copyrighted work can, but there are certain provisions that are laid out. And as a matter of fact, there's an entire rubric that lays out what is or isn't allowed to be used for copyrighted work. So, for example, if you acquired a Creative Commons license, or if you use copyrighted material that's under a Creative Commons license, but let's say it has the $ with a slash through it, that means you cannot use it for commercial purposes. If let's say there's one with like a silhouette of a person, if that one is slashed through it, that means that you don't need to provide attribution to that work. But odds are the whole catch with Creative Commons licenses is you have to provide an attribution to the owner of that specific copyrighted work. They're all laid out in pretty clear language, but I would say the ones to bear in mind are primarily the ones that say that have the $ that go right through it, and also understanding kind of like the general nature with the manner in which you can use it. If it's for personal use, that's okay. If it's for editorial use, also could be okay. But it's the moment that you're starting to use it in a commercial manner that it becomes very, very complicated and would likely have to trigger an additional request from that copyright owner. If you were to Google Creative Commons license rubric, it will lay out it actually has a very good legend that lays out what each of those little prongs are. And basically when you mix and match it, that means that you can get an idea of what governance exists with the specific copyrighted work that you're using that's under that Creative Commons license. But again, the whole catch with Creative Commons licenses are that you can use someone else's content for free, but the catch is you have to give them that very specific credit, and you really can't do any modification to it whatsoever, which is a bit of a downside, especially if you have specific parameters for how you credit specific copyrighted works. So it's a bit of a catch-22 there, where it could work really well, and it doesn't necessarily work for some creators. It really just is tailored to the everyday person, in the sense that everyone can benefit from using it because it is free after all, but it does come with certain strings attached, unfortunately.
And of course, it's important to make sure you do your research before you are using anything. Even if you feel like you have the license, or you think you have a license because you've gone through a particular website, it is your mandatory job to do the research on this and to make sure that you are doing things properly. And of course, if you've got questions, the best person to ask is your lawyer, because they will be able to help guide you through this. And if you've got further questions that are not specific to your lawyer, you can drop them for our favorite lawyer, Tony, because he's coming back for upcoming episodes to help us navigate the world of entrepreneurship and keep us legally protected. When it comes to something like Creative Commons, it might work for you, or it might be dangerous territory that you might want to stay away from. So making sure that you go through the proper steps and procedures to make sure that you're doing it the right way, and it will not face any blowback from this if you do it wrong, is going to work to your benefit. And as always, you can drop your questions for Tony down below and reach out to him on social media. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at The IP Professor, and you can check out my entertainment law podcast called End Scene, where new episodes drop every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Follow along for daily videos helping you to make this your most profitable year ever, as we save you time and effort creating your social content, navigating the legal side of entrepreneurship, and getting your questions answered so that you can live your best life while also still running your business. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.